Hi, and welcome to your first episode, episode one of Unfunk Your Soul. My name's Marie, and I'm your host, the person behind Unfunk Your Soul. So, I wanted to take this opportunity to welcome to you. If you've been following me on social media and this is your first outing into my podcast, then welcome. And I'd like to give you a little introduction about me and how I came up with Unfunk Your Soul. So, my journey into wellness and well-being started perhaps in about 2015. I'd been a regular at the gym before that and didn't really take care of my well-being in some respects. So when it came to 2015, that was a period of time after I'd actually been diagnosed with depression in 2013, which resulted in me having 6 months off work. And during that time, in those 6 months, I suppose in the build up to having that time and that kind of mini breakdown, I realized that I hadn't been looking after myself. At the time, I was overworked. I was taking on more responsibilities in my last job. I was juggling family and home life, juggling work, a qualification that I'd been cherry picked to be the first one within my organization to be part of a pilot. Kind of all these expectations and pressures that were kind of being put upon me, and me not being able to juggle all these balls. So I always distinctly remember it was like the first bank holiday in May of 2013 when I was just you kind of have those thoughts of going to work the next day, don't you? And on this particular bank holiday Monday, I was absolutely exhausted. And the thought of going into work the next day, I was like, I just cannot do this. And I couldn't. And I suppose that was the first cry for help, really. I've always come across as the type of person who had everything together, you know, juggling single parenthood, a professional career. Yeah, I had it all together. And I was liking myself to that in that period of time as being a swan, serene on the surface, but manically flapping underneath, trying to keep it all together. And on that Monday, I just couldn't keep it together anymore. So that resulted in me having, like I say, 6 months off work. And then during that time, I doubted that I would ever get back to me again. I doubted that I would ever laugh, smile, feel me. And that was a scary prospect when I think about it. Really, really scary because I'd lost sight completely of who I was. Somewhat saying that the shine had perhaps come off and I felt a bit of a failure. And I just couldn't, my brain seriously went offline. And when I say offline, I would often catch myself during those 6 months just sitting on my sofa at home in a daze, not even thinking anything. My mind was just completely blank. It was as if there was nothing there. Literally, there was nothing there. Apart from me breathing and remaining upright, I was almost like in a comatose state. Um, so that further then exasperated my concern that I wasn't going to bounce back. How long is this going to take? But I knew that throughout that time that I was off work, I knew I wasn't ready to be back at work. So when it came to the end of the 6 months, I started to prioritize me, taking time for me. I then started going back to the gym more regularly. And during that time as well, I also took up running. Now, running for me wasn't because I had anything in mind. It just gave me, just that kind of repetition of putting one foot in front of the other. I put headphones in. One of my playlists at the time was Eminem. Um, and that helped me kind of with that kind of motivation, the momentum to get me to where I wanted to go. So yes, so I started going back to the gym. I started running, and then it came to that big question, right? Are you going back to work? And at that point, I knew I had to go back to work. And when I was planning for my return back to work, so I had a phased return when I went back. When I was planning for that, I was really quite paranoid. I was worried about how I would slot back into the team. I thought I had lost my social status within the team because I'd had this time where I felt very vulnerable and hadn't kept it together and kind of like dropped everything. And there's that kind of fear that of being judged, I suppose, that I was no longer the ideal member of the team who had it all together. She'd lost a spark. So there was that kind of pressure of my perception of myself within the team and how I would fit in. And it took me a long time, and I wouldn't necessarily say I ever moved beyond that, because when I went back in, I kind of kept myself on the peripheries of the team, on the outsides of it, kind of observed from afar. Um, and when I think back now, and it makes me kind of smile when I think about it, is because when I went back to work, one of the first things I did was actually turn my phone on to silent. So basically, I would never hear my phone ring, and I would be notified if there was a message. So then I could then respond to that message in my own time, rather than when your phone rings constantly and you feel the need to pick it up all the time. So from that day when I went back to work, my phone had been on silent. And to this day, I was thinking about it the other day, and to this day, so 10 years later, I've never had my ringer on my phone. And that's how I manage my people's access to me, is my phone has always been on silent. I much prefer to have a text message that I can then read in my own time and reply when I'm ready, rather than this instant messages. I can't stand WhatsApp. I can't stand WhatsApp group messages. They really heighten. And I'm not one to say that I've suffered with anxiety, but a group message situation really doesn't sit well with me. And out of choice, I will refuse to be in one, because I cannot keep up with the stream of messages. I then haven't got the time to go back and view all messages that I've missed, and then to come back into a conversation that you weren't a part of. It's like almost, I find WhatsApp group messages to be almost like being at a party. There's a conversation that's gone in one room and you've gone out of the room, and when you come back, people are talking about something and you've missed it. Now, to me, that's WhatsApp group messages, because unless I'm actually in the room in the conversation, don't have the conversation if you want me to be part of it. Wait till I'm there rather than go on about all this. So yeah, doesn't work with me. So I kind of put these things in place to manage people's access to me and my access to other people, as a way of managing my own mental health and things that overwhelm me. I'm sure you all have things in place that work for you as well. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has calls that have been muted for 10 years or doesn't answer text messages instantly. Now, I'm not offended if people don't respond to me instantaneously, because we're all busy people. So I can sit back and wait and trust that they will reply when they do. My other kind is, if I read your message and don't reply, you may not get a reply because I'm off doing the next thing. So I try not to open any messages until I can actually reply to them and give you my full attention. So they're the strategies that I kind of put in place when I went back to work. So yes, so I went back to work in the autumn of 2013 um, on a phase return. I can't tell you how long that phase return is. It's all distant memory now, anyway. And then obviously building up to my previous role and taking on more responsibilities and everything else. So, I mean, the good story, I mean, obviously the happy ending is that I did get my sparkle back and I did have a laugh and have laughed many times since then. And my awareness now of mental health and depression has only helped me understand it a little bit more. And, you know, just because someone looks well kept together and looks like that they're got it all sorted and their life is so easy, appears to be easy, you know, we don't know what's going on underneath the surface. So we should give people a little more credit, really, and a little more understanding and compassion when they are having time, when they do have to have time off as well. So my experience with depression started then with myself personally, and then in 2015, in my job, I got invited to a training session, kind of an email dropped in my inbox, and it was an invitation to a mindfulness. The actual course was called Search Inside Yourself. And what I found out when I did attend the course, I think it was a 2-day course, was that this course was facilitated by Google. So Google headquarters in the States are very much geared around employees' well-being. And within their headquarters, I believe they have relaxation spaces. They have pods where you can be immersed into sounds, meditations. So the course that I did was called Search Inside Yourself, which was based on the principles of meditation, mindfulness and meditation. So through the course of the 2 days, I was able to experience meditation, breath work, mindfulness, terms that I'd never heard before. And I suppose my first kind of thing would be, what on earth are we doing? Why are we sat in a room with all these random people? And why are we sitting here breathing and noticing our breath going in through our nose, beneath our, you know, focusing on the point beneath our nostrils? But what I did take from it was, oh my gosh, I'm sitting and breathing it, and I'm not thinking about anything else that's going on. And in the run up to me going on that course, I had been going through another testing time personally, and I was getting lots of negative things thrown at me and accusations, and it was just a horrendous time that I was having to manage. So this opportunity of this mindfulness course in the middle of all that chaos that was going on around me, it just gave me a sense of calm and a case of peace. And it gave me that little bit of distance where I was able then to observe the situations a little bit more instead of being so um, immersed and taken on board. So it really helped with that situation. And then after I did the 2-day course, I was kind of hungry for more. I was like, where can I find out more about this meditation? And there was a colleague that I worked with who had attended some meditation sessions at a Buddhist center. So I'd had conversations with her about her experience with meditation and this Buddhist center. And then I started searching for what other things this centre put on. So it turns out they had day courses, half-day courses. They did lots of work within the community. So I went to a community session, and then I also completed some half-day courses and full-day courses with them. And that was an opportunity to be in a situation where you are with other like-minded people who are interested in meditation and well-being. And the techniques that were taught, or the school of thought, was based in Buddhist traditions, and that was in a principle called Kadampa. So that has various books to support the teachings, and through discussions about karma and kismet. And it was just really, it was a really beautiful place to be. The grounds, the monks and nuns that ran the courses were so welcoming, and myself and my younger children went, and I had so many beautiful experiences there that it really made me appreciate and started my journey with meditation. So, with regards to the courses at the Buddhist Center, I did so many over the course of the year. And then I wanted to try and perhaps find a way of making my practice a little more routine, a little more regular, rather than go for a weekend course and then not do anything and then go for a half-day course. And it was very kind of sporadic, and I'd see what the topic was that was being discussed and decide whether or not it resonated. So I wanted something that can help me build a practice. And then I discovered a meditation app, and then started building up my practice from there. And then in 2019, it came about that I was going to take redundancy from my job within the local authority. And then I was offered redundancy. I didn't think I was going to be. So, and when I was getting ready to leave the local authority, I was thinking, okay, what can my next steps be? What is it that I want to do? Didn't really have a plan. Knew that I wanted to work within wellbeing or fitness, but couldn't quite put my finger on it. When I looked at becoming a personal trainer, it was like I didn't have the time that I could do that with me having the children. So it didn't fit in with my life. So that wasn't for me. And then I came across, perhaps I think it was in the summer, August time, just before I was due to leave in the October, I came across a person on LinkedIn, and that was a meditation instructor that I'd trained in exhale. So I did a little bit of digging when I was seeing this exhale, and then came across the fact that it's modern meditation, that they used chart music, included some movement and breath work. I was like, okay. And then I'd made some inquiries with the founder of Exhale. I'd spoken to her and was still a bit uncertain whether it was for me. So then I decided to go to an Exhale session, thinking, I really think this is for me, but I wasn't sure. So I went to a session quite local to me, just 20 minutes up the road. And I sat in the session, and I was just kind of like, this is my bag. This is me all over. I got talking to the instructor afterwards, saying that I was interested in becoming an instructor. And I was like, but the only thing is, I don't think I can sound as good as you when you deliver your meditation. I don't think I can. I don't think that's me. And my voice is all, I'm quite expressionate. I quite, I have big movements. I quite animated with how I talk. I don't know how I could mute myself down to be able to deliver meditation like that. I don't think I can. There's that kind of those doubts setting in then. But because I was so taken aback by the experience and the yumminess of the sessions with music and meditation, I was like, this is me. It's got me. It's me. So then I took the step to train as an exhale instructor. So I started in January 2020. And we all know what happened in March 2020, don't we? When I actually completed my training, ready to go, the world stopped, didn't it? So, as they say, the rest then is history. But when I think back to when I started training Exhale and where I am now, it's been such a journey of unpicking, of getting to know me, accepting all that I am, I think without taking those steps before to get where I am now, if I hadn't taken those steps, I wouldn't be here now. So that's the kind of beauty of having that awareness and getting to know yourself and fully appreciating your journey. A lot of the things that a lot of what people hear me say now is that I'm growing with grace. I'm honoring my journey and all the lessons that have come my way have been blessings in one way or another. And you don't really think about it at the time when you're going through such dire situations. You're not sitting there when you're upset or when your heart's been broken and thinking, I wonder what lesson this has got for me. You're not thinking it at the time, are you? It's only with hindsight after the event that you start to think, okay, there's a lesson in there. And now, as I've come through these different stages in this later part of my life, I can really start to appreciate the younger me and those lessons that I've gone through to get where I am today. So I'd like to thank you for joining me and that little introduction of how I got to where I am. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts on the episode. It would be brilliant to have some conversations and see where you're at within your journey. So you take care. Bye.